There's a pain most women will never admit out loud, a silent sting that runs deeper than rejection, deeper than heartbreak, deeper even than losing a man she thought she wanted. It's the pain of realizing she never truly valued the man who valued her the most. At first, it's almost invisible. She feels powerful, wanted, admired, and she takes that for granted. She ignores his texts, she downplays his efforts, she dismisses his love as ordinary, and she convinces herself that this man, steady, loyal, present, will always be there waiting in the shadows of her hesitation. But here is the truth every woman learns sooner or later. The moment she stops valuing the man who stands by her is the moment she sets herself up for the deepest hurt she'll ever know. Because when a man of worth finally walks away, she doesn't just lose his presence, she loses the mirror that reflected her highest self. I remember a story of a man named Ethan. He was the kind of man every woman says she wants. Dependable, ambitious, kind. He loved deeply, gave generously, and when he chose a woman, he didn't choose halfway. The woman he was with, Mia, had all the attention she could ever want. Men stared when she entered the room. Her phone never stopped buzzing. Her friends reminded her constantly how lucky she was, but in that constant chorus of validation, Ethan became background music. She assumed he would always be there, assumed his love was guaranteed. She began to cancel plans, to withhold affection, to test how far she could push before he broke. And Ethan, because of his love, endured it for far longer than he should have. He hoped she'd wake up and see him, but the day came when his silence spoke louder than her arrogance. He stopped chasing. He stopped trying. He stopped explaining. And when he finally left, she laughed it off at first, certain he'd come back like always, but weeks passed, months, and then the weight hit her. The men she thought she wanted gave her attention but not respect. They gave her excitement but not security, and in the silence of Ethan's absence she felt something she had never felt before. The hollow ache of having devalued the only man who had truly seen her. That is the pain that haunts her, the one she doesn't confess to her friends. The one she feels late at night when the world is quiet. What hurts a woman the most is not losing a man she never cared for. It's losing the man who cared for her more than anyone else, and realizing too late that she had treated that care like it was disposable. There is a particular cruelty in the way time works in relationships. When a man values a woman, he shows it consistently. When she fails to value him back, the erosion is slow, invisible at first, until one day he simply decides he has given enough. And that moment is not loud, it's not dramatic, it doesn't come with slammed doors or shouted words, it comes with silence, a silence she never saw coming. And that silence, for a woman who has grown used to his presence, is deafening. Because it isn't just the absence of his voice, it's the absence of his energy, his devotion, his belief in her. And once that is gone, no other man can replicate it. Women don't like to admit it, but the deepest regret they feel isn't when they are abandoned by the man they idolized, it's when they abandon the man they underestimated. Because idols often disappoint. But the man they underestimated, he doesn't disappoint, he disappears. And when he disappears, she is left with a mirror showing her the truth. She didn't lose him because he wasn't enough. She lost him because she couldn't recognize that he was more than enough. She lost him because she couldn't recognize that he was more than enough. That realization doesn't fade quickly. It stays, it festers, it resurfaces years later when she sees him happy with someone else. It resurfaces when she remembers how safe she felt in his presence, how steady he was compared to the chaos she chased. That's the hurt that burns the longest. The knowledge that she had gold in her hands and treated it like stone. I knew a woman named Clara once. She admitted this to me after years of silence. She said, "The man who loved me hardest, I pushed away. I thought I could do better. I thought I could find someone more exciting, more powerful. But when I look back, I realize he was the only one who ever loved me without conditions. And I destroyed that because I thought his love would never run out." Her voice cracked when she said it, because the cruel reality was that his love didn't run out, his tolerance did. And when he stopped tolerating her lack of respect, when he walked away quietly, she realized the most painful truth of all, that she had been loved in a way most women only dream of, and she had thrown it away. That's the kind of pain that shapes her, that changes her, that makes her build walls she doesn't even understand. For a man listening to this, the lesson is not to harden your heart or withhold your love. The lesson is to understand that your value does not decrease when a woman fails to see it. If anything, her blindness only sharpens your worth. The mistake men make is trying to convince her, trying to beg her to notice, trying to perform until she wakes up. But you cannot teach someone to value you. Value is either recognized or it isn't, and if she doesn't recognize it, then the deepest pain she will ever feel is not in rejecting you, it will be in the day she realizes what she rejected. That's why your power is not in chasing her acknowledgement. Your power is in standing so firmly in your own worth that when you finally withdraw, she feels the vacuum in her soul. Because when a man of value leaves, it isn't just a breakup. It's an earthquake in her world. The irony is brutal. While you may think she's moving on, laughing, enjoying her new attention, deep inside she will always compare. She will compare the way other men make her feel with the way you made her feel. She will notice the instability, the games, the lack of depth, and at first she may ignore it, she may distract herself, but over time the contrast becomes undeniable. And that's when it hits her, the most painful hurt a woman can feel when she doesn't value you. The realization that she lost, not because you weren't enough, but because she was too blind to see that you were more than enough. That truth pierces deeper than rejection. It doesn't just sting her pride, it shatters her sense of judgment. Because once a woman sees that she misjudged the worth of a man who truly loved her, she starts to question everything else she believes about herself. And this is why your silence, your absence, your decision to no longer beg or prove yourself carries more weight than 1,000 words. It is in your quiet dignity that her loudest regrets are born. A woman may not cry when you leave, she may even celebrate, but months or years later, when she's alone, when she scrolls through old photos, when she sees you with someone else who values you the way she never did, that's when the tears come. That's when the hurt she never expected to feel crashes over her. Not because she lost you in the moment, but because she realizes she lost the version of herself she only ever knew when she was with you. The strangest thing about human nature is that we often mistake what is constant for what is disposable. We get used to the sunrise and forget how miraculous it is. We drink water daily and forget how vital it is. And in relationships, women often do the same with the man who is always there. They confuse his consistency for weakness, his patience for lack of options, his devotion for desperation. At first it feels empowering to them. I can push him away and he still comes back. I can withhold and he still gives. I can ignore and he still waits. But the psychology beneath that is not attraction, it is testing. And every test is her unconscious attempt to answer a single question. Is this man truly strong, or is he only here because I make it easy for him? When she doesn't value you, she escalates those tests. She withholds more, she respects less, she grows careless with your presence. And she doesn't even realize the damage she is doing until the day comes when you decide the test is over. A friend of mine, Marcus, went through this in a brutal way. He loved a woman for 3 years. During that time, he was the one who drove her to appointments, who stayed up with her when she was sick, who believed in her dreams when no one else did. And yet, she grew bored of him. She craved drama, excitement, the roller coaster of men who came and went. She told him once, "You're too safe, too predictable." It shattered him at first, but months after he walked away, she called him in tears. She said, "The men I left you for, they don't care about me. They vanish, they lie, they cheat. I thought I wanted freedom, but what I really lost was peace." And Marcus told me later, that was the moment I realized her pain was greater than mine. I lost someone who didn't value me, but she lost someone who truly did. That's the hurt she couldn't escape, knowing she had destroyed her own safety net in the name of chasing illusions. Women test because they are wired to search for strength. But when she doesn't value you, the test is no longer about finding out who you are. It becomes a reckless gamble that she thinks she can always recover from. She thinks, if he leaves, I'll just get him back. If he breaks, I'll just repair it. But here's where her psychology betrays her. When a man of true value decides he's had enough, there is no coming back. His absence isn't a negotiation tactic, it's a verdict. And what hurts her the most is that she realizes she never believed he would truly leave. She thought his love was endless, unconditional to the point of self-erasure, and when he proves her wrong, it forces her to confront the ugliest truth about herself. She was careless with something priceless. I remember a woman named Sarah admitting this. She said, "I didn't respect him because I thought he would always stay. I treated him poorly because I thought he loved me too much to walk away. But when he finally did, it was like the ground disappeared under my feet. Suddenly I saw all the little moments I had destroyed, the dinners I cancelled, the conversations I dismissed, the intimacy I withheld, and I hated myself for it." That's the wound that lingers in her, the wound no rebound relationship can heal. Because while a man can recover his confidence after being devalued, a woman often struggles to recover her self-image after realizing she failed to value a man who was real. The psychology behind this is simple yet devastating. Women crave validation like men crave respect. When she is flooded with attention, she mistakes quantity for quality. She assumes she can replace what she has because she sees countless men orbiting her. But attention is not commitment, and attraction is not devotion. The painful truth hits her only later. All those men she thought were options vanish when she needs them most. They are there for fun, for games, for desire, but not for the long nights, not for the sacrifices, not for the depth. And suddenly she remembers you, the man she dismissed, the man she overlooked, the man she didn't value, and the thought burns through her chest. I had what I needed, and I threw it away for what I wanted. That contradiction is the seed of her deepest regret. You see, when a man leaves a woman who didn't value him, she doesn't just lose his presence in the moment, she loses the version of herself that only existed in his presence. Around him, she was softer, more open, more feminine, more cared for. Without him, she has to armor herself against the world. She tells herself she's fine, that she's strong, that she doesn't need him. But late at night, when she scrolls through old messages, when she remembers how he looked at her like no one else ever did, that armor cracks. She realizes she is now living in a reality where she traded peace for chaos, depth for shallowness, value for novelty. And that realization is not a clean wound. It's an infection that spreads every time she encounters another man who fails to measure up. The hurt only deepens when she sees you thrive without her, because here's the cruel twist. Women often believe the man they devalue will crumble once they leave. They imagine him heartbroken, begging, unable to move on. But when a man of true worth rebuilds, when he becomes stronger, happier, more fulfilled, she feels a pain sharper than jealousy. It's the realization that she wasn't just careless with him, she was careless with the best version of herself that existed when she was with him. That's why her regret is so heavy. It's not just about losing you. It's about losing the woman she was in your presence. And the hardest part? She can never go back to that. Once a man of value withdraws fully, once he rebuilds himself beyond her reach, she may apologize, she may confess, she may even beg. But she knows deep down that the purity of what she once had with him cannot be resurrected. She killed it when she failed to value it. And that truth will follow her into every relationship after you. She will carry the ghost of what she lost, the shadow of what she devalued, and it will whisper in her ear during every fight, every disappointment, every lonely night, "You had better, and you destroyed it." So understand this clearly. When a woman doesn't value you, you don't need to teach her a lesson with words. Life will teach her, time will teach her, and her own heart will become her punishment. Because the deepest hurt a woman feels is not in being abandoned by a man she didn't care about. It's in realizing she abandoned the man who cared for her when no one else did. The cruel irony of life is that what we fail to value is often what we end up needing the most. A woman who dismisses a man of worth rarely understands in the moment what she is losing, because she is distracted by the glitter of temporary attention. But time has a way of stripping illusions bare. The excitement fades. The thrill of being desired by many becomes exhausting. The chaos she mistook for passion turns into emptiness. And when the silence of her choices begins to echo in her chest, she finally looks back and remembers the man who stood for her when no one else did. But by then he is not the same man. He has changed. He has grown. He has turned the pain of her disregard into fuel for his evolution. And what hurts her the most is that the man she once overlooked is now the man she can no longer reach. I knew a man named Adrian who lived this out. For years he poured into a woman who treated him like a backup plan. She strung him along, kept him close enough to feel secure but never close enough to commit. When she finally left him for another man, she thought she had upgraded. Adrian was devastated, but he didn't chase, he didn't beg. He turned inward. He worked on his health, his finances, his purpose. Years later, when she saw him again, he was thriving. His presence was magnetic, his life full. She admitted to him through tears, "I didn't realize what I had until you were gone." But Adrian just smiled and said, "I'm not gone. I'm just no longer yours." That was the knife that cut deepest. Not his anger, not his rejection, but his indifference. She didn't just lose him. She lost the version of herself that existed when his love surrounded her, and that loss haunted her far longer than any heartbreak she'd ever known. Because here's the truth. What hurts a woman the most when she doesn't value you isn't just your absence. It's watching you become the man she always wanted, but now cannot have. It's seeing the strength she doubted become undeniable, seeing the love she dismissed flow into someone else, seeing the loyalty she thought she owned become someone else's treasure. That is a punishment no man could design, because it is not revenge. It is reality, and reality always cuts deeper than fantasy. She can imagine you broken. She can imagine you waiting. She can imagine you hoping she will return. But when she sees you living fully, when she sees you smiling in photos with a woman who adores you, when she sees you thriving without the weight of her neglect, she feels a pain no words can soothe. It is the pain of knowing she had everything, and she ruined it. And this is why your role as a man is not to beg for recognition. It is to embody such undeniable value that even when she fails to see it, the world eventually forces her to. Your absence becomes her lesson. Your growth becomes her regret. Your indifference becomes her mirror. And in that mirror she finally sees not just the man she lost, but the woman she was when she failed to value him. That reflection is what shatters her. Because regret is not about losing someone else. It's about losing the part of yourself that you cannot get back. So, when you find yourself devalued, remember this. You don't need to convince her, you don't need to argue, you don't need to fight. You simply need to walk away with dignity and build yourself so completely that her memory of you becomes her wound. Because while she may never admit it, while she may put on a brave face, the truth is this. The deepest hurt she will ever feel is realizing she had the chance to stand beside a man who would have given her the world, and she was too blind to see it. And if you carry one truth with you from this entire journey, let it be this. When a woman doesn't value you, the pain she will feel in losing you will always be greater than the pain you felt in leaving her.